Present are Commissioners Plummer, McBride, Personnel Director David Dunn, and Assistant Developers, Bullock, and members on behalf of the Fire Department at today's meeting. So, David, do you want to go ahead and speak
Commission today, lieutenants who were, several lieutenants, more than several, who were impacted by last week's meeting and discussion asked in a written request to have this meeting so they could restate or state their case today, and we granted that request. Timing is of some importance here. In addition, the fire chief has asked to also address the commission about it. He was unable to attend last week's meeting, and he would like to be heard regarding the meeting in the matter. So first off, I think we should probably ask to hear from the lieutenants who signed the letter: Ellis, Morado, Boris, Cody, Desiroff, Esposito, Rolfe, Dowling, or Penix. If you have a spokesperson, come on up. Just identify yourself.
My name is Ron Rolfe.
Rolfe.
Yes, sir. There's a timeline here.
Okay.
And all the documents from when we were promoted to lieutenant. Reasoning for asking for this special meeting is due to the decision that was made last week, or 2 weeks ago, when you guys were here and discussed the eligibility date of the test. When it was changed, it actually made the 16 of us ineligible for the test. So what we're here to do, or why I'm here speaking, is to try to request from you for us to be, for our time to be backdated from when we were promoted to lieutenant. The process took from April 13th was the end of our test to August 8th when we were promoted, which is approximately a year and a half to get promoted to lieutenant. And last week during the meeting, there was a lot of stress put on the city charter. When we were promoted to lieutenant, the city charter was violated numerous times, and I understand that that's why we changed the date at the last meeting. In the city charter, if you look at the timeline, the opening was created by Craig Kelly when he retired. He retired 9/7/04. In the charter, on page 11, where most of the testing and promotional stuff is found, it states that the test should be given within 120 days. And it wasn't. It wasn't actually announced until December 18th, 2006. And then we weren't advised of the test until, actually then the application process went for 30 days from there. So we're well past the 120 days for us to be following the charter. So as that process went through, again, when we violated the city or the commission or department, however you'd like to put it, violated the charter again, was we were given the test April 13th. Again, on page 11 in section 211, it states that the grades should be back within the city and announced within 90 days. We didn't receive results until September 28th, which again is well past that 90 days. On February 29th, we came to the commission after this process was taking as long as it was. Up until that point, it had taken just short of a year, 10 months, for us to be able to take the test and get promoted to lieutenant. Director Jacobs was actually in charge at that time during this testing period. The chief had asked that there was multiple spots. It was asked that that we be promoted to lieutenant from the list that was generated. There was still, he had explained that there were still legal issues going on in reference to, appeals weren't done. but he filled the spots with us, with 15 of us, to be provisional ranked on February 29th. That's when the transfer came out from the chief department. And then we were promoted March 2nd. The appeals came back May 8th from Dr. Roots or to the Civil Service Department, and on May 13th they were certified by the commission at the meeting. Again, per the charter, again, because that's what has, following the charter and putting us to the point where we should be following it, has put us at this point to make us ineligible. And again, per the charter, we should have been promoted within 30 days of the commission, you guys approving that promotional list. Director Jacobs, and I can only assume through the legal department of the city, didn't promote us at that point. They actually didn't promote us until August 8th, or August 10th, it took effect, excuse me, 2008. So from May 13th, it took that part of, what, 90 days or so, or a little bit more for us to get promoted. So we're looking to get our back time to basically back to where we were made provisional. All 16 of us, excuse me, I hate to say 15, it's actually 16 of us that was, because of the jockeying and when the appeals came through, it actually, the guys that got promoted, there was 17, I believe, that were promoted when the list was finally done. But to get the back time, it's 16 individuals. So that's what we're here looking to, presenting to you guys.
That's it?
That's the gist of it, yeah. I'm sure you have questions or statements that I can...
I don't know, is there anybody else that wants to be heard on that, of that group? Okay.
Chief, are you here to speak in regards to this matter?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So just for the Commission's benefit, let me try to restate your point. You're asking the Commission to grant you retroactive seniority to March 2nd, 2008?
Yes, sir.
And what's the date that you were promoted? Is it August?
Well, the date that we were promoted to lieutenant prior to the lawsuit that changed the list back and forth again was actually August 8th was the date that the chief's order went out, and our promotion to probationary lieutenants took effect August 10th. And then that list was put out with the change in weights that Director Jacobs had made an effort to put through, and then it was later changed, and I don't actually have the date that it was changed. Timmy, do you remember? When it was changed back to the original list. There was a list put out, Director Jacobs changed the weights of the test, and then they were changed back at a later date.
So,
and we couldn't bring this
5
forward.
months back seniority.
Yes, sir. And the reason we're bringing this to you now is because up until the point of your last meeting, we hadn't been harmed by this decision of making us provisional to probationary, and the lengthy time, the length of time it took to get us promoted to lieutenant. We hadn't been harmed by it. By us becoming ineligible for the captain's test, at this point, that 5 months has harmed us. And it was put together and dragged along. I can only imagine, obviously for the change of weights that they were making an effort to put forward for a hypothetical lawsuit that never was filed and never happened. So the time frame was dragged out on threats rather than just filing a charter and promoting us when we needed to be promoted, or when we should have been promoted, excuse me.
So your argument is more strongly based on the fact that your promotion was held up, not that the test itself. Because we know that the charter calls for 100 and...
Yes, ma'am. No, I'm just asking again for the poll to go back and follow the charter, so that, and I'm only asking to go back to that provisional date, because I do understand that things go on and departments are busy within the city, but we were promoted at that day by the commission to provisional, so that the positions existed within the department and needed to be filled, which was recognized by both Director Jacobs and by the commission, by you guys to be able to promote us and approve those positions. So we're just looking to get that back time so that we can have our true seniority date of when we should have been promoted.
Attorney Mottola, can you just give us some of your insight on this?
The only the problem with the argument is that I think Lieutenant Rolfe is one of the individuals who signed a settlement agreement where he agreed that his seniority rank is August 10, 2008.
No, sir.
Well, it's right here. I have it right here.
Well, I only asked to see my signature.
Okay, I'll find it right here. Got them all. Maybe, were you a party to this one?
No, sir.
Okay.
I wasn't a party to any lawsuit.
All right. So
My position on the list was unaffected by any of the actions of Ralph Jacobs.
What about the members of your group who did sign the waiver?
I'd have to ask one of them to speak. Per the last meeting, I know there was comments made that there were members that signed the agreement. It's a difficult situation because Director Jacobs did something that was, in essence, illegal. The test, he sent out a letter that's in your packet to all of us candidates that the test was valid at where it was valid. And then there was an effort to me to change the weights, which is what dragged us on and pushed the members that signed that paper and other members into a lawsuit amongst themselves by the actions of him. And I understand he's not here anymore, but his actions are still carrying throughout the city. And obviously wreaking a little bit of havoc.
I guess what I would say is I understand the argument. I should look into it. The problem with the argument, and I say this with all due respect to Lieutenant Rolfe, and again I will look into it, is that if essentially what the argument is that the city, going back to 2007, during this whole process, was violating its charter because it didn't give a timely exam, and the remedy for that was to go to court and get a mandamus action to order the city to give an exam, and I don't recall that ever happening here. But again, I'll look into the argument. The other problem, and I know Lieutenant Rolfe wasn't part of it, but I think some of these individuals,
There's 6 or...
Mr. Ellis and...
No, Mr. Ellis is not on that list.
Not one of them?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, do you know who did not sign that?
I know who did sign it. I know there's a few people here that did.
5 names.
There's 5 names there?
5 of the 16 junior lieutenants had to sign off on that agreement.
All right.
5?
5 of the
Did not.
16 had
5
to sign
did.
off.
Five did.
All right, and then the other issue that I need to look into is the union signed off on this settlement agreement too. The argument can be made that the union is representing, by signing off on this, is representing the interests of the members of the bargaining unit. But again, let me look into it. So can I just ask a question so I know? So the individuals who appealed today, Lieutenant Ellis, was he a party to this litigation?
No, sir.
No. Was Murado?
No, sir.
Scott Morris was, right?
No, sir.
No. Cody?
No, he's not here, but
Eisenroth?
he signed the agreement.
Esposito?
No, Esposito was not.
part of it. Okay. Donnelly was, right?
No, I was not.
Sure. I thought he was. Okay. And then Darren Penix?
No, Darren wasn't either.
Okay.
So,
I don't believe.
Okay.
well, that's not the 6. You're not all 16. Are we to assume that the remaining names
yeah.
did?
The remaining names did, yeah, well, whoever he has a list, obviously, right there.
9
of who
names,
signed
say
it.
8 did not.
5 out of the 16 were negatively linked to active denial on that.
So these are the
Yeah.
names that did sign it?
Yeah.
So Lieutenant Batone, Tim Batone, Lieutenant Deisenroth, Matt Deisenroth.
Well, you can give us that list at some point, right?
Thanks. Okay, thanks.
And the premise for us asking for this back time is only because the last meeting that you had, it was put forth that we need to start following the charter. We need to make an effort to follow the charter. This is what we have to do. And again, we weren't harmed by not following the charter until that point. So we're just asking you to look back, see how we were affected by not following the charter, and push us to where we need to be, or to our date where it needs to be, where it belongs.
Any questions from the commission?
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
John, you want to
Yeah,
research it?
I gotta look into it. I'll research it. Hopefully have a decision by, we have a meeting Tuesday.
We have a meeting next Tuesday. Yeah.
Well, sir, I can also point this out, if for a different one that maybe even need to be looked into by you. This charter states that 30 days post approval by this commission of an employment list or promotion list, promotions should be made. The list was approved by you on May 13, 2008, certified by this board that it was a good hire list. The promotions weren't made until August 8th or August 10th. The charter states 30 days from that May 13th date. So June 13th, we should have been promoted to lieutenant. If nothing else, if it turns into all of the people that were promoted on the list, however you want to look into it. But within that 30 days, I mean, it was reasonably clear to me in the charter when I took a look at it. So. Okay.
David, did you?
Well, now I can discuss with John, but just while the lieutenant's here. I assume it's in the package. May 13th, you're saying the list was good to be certified, or was certified?
As far as I remember, again, recall, Lieutenant Ellis had
I called your office today, Lisa
Yeah.
said it was certified on that date.
On May 13th, well,
So
May
she told me on the
13th.
phone.
May
We have a letter
13th.
saying it was going to be done.
2008.
Yeah, there's a letter in the packet that says it was going to be done, because I know we attended that meeting. We attended multiple meetings when all this was going on to try to...
Okay. And then 30 days, not say June 13th, 2008. That's the maximum date.
Right, it shouldn't have gone all the way till August, yes, sir.
All right.
So that's something.
I gotta look.
Well, I need to...
You're gonna research.
Well, just as we were getting ready to leave, I turned him over to Lisa to check it out. I don't know what she told him, but I'm not going to dispute what he says right now.
Sure.
We'll look at it over, because we should probably review it further to discuss and consider what we're going to do at the...
See, I don't, and that's why I gotta look at it. I don't recall, I have to look into the timeline with respect to the disparate impact claim and how that affected
Right.
everything. That's what I know. I have a lot of information on it, so I'll be able to find it quickly. Because I'm trying to recall if the list was certified and then it was discovered that there was and I know you guys disagree with this, a lot of you, that there was a disparate impact which needed to be looked into. So that's what I need to look at. So I understand the argument. And there's a packet you said you passed out. Can I have a copy of that too? Thank you.
You're looking at it.
No, this is mine. This is the settlement agreement.
Yeah, right.
And that was the timeline. The
And
agreement.
I got the timeline, yeah. So I guess...
Now, it goes with a disparate impact. Disparate impact states that if the test is valid and it portrays the job that it's being tested for, that it can be, and I guess that was somewhat it was proved through New Haven, that it can be, I hate to say not pushed aside, it can be overlooked and the promotion being taken, because, I mean, we had 13 reading articles that were, I think 9 of them were IFSTA reading articles, which is, you know, worldwide accredited in the fire service. So the material we read for the written test was both department-specific and also a nationally or worldwide accredited training organization that we read from for the written test. The oral examination consisted of 2 days. It was fire scenarios, a car accident, employee issues, things that we deal with here all the time. So again, with what Director Jacobs wrote in his letter to us was that the test was valid, because it absolutely was valid. It encompassed our job from top to bottom to an ERG, which sits in the front of every fire truck in the city. So to hold the test up for disparate impact is, again, and I'm not looking to argue this, I'm just making a point. To hold the test up for months and months and months for something that he had written was valid, that Dr. Roots had written, the test maker, was a valid test. To hold our promotion up as long as they did is part of what has put us to the point we're at now, sir.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think what Ralph was saying at the time, that the test was a valid examination, but he encountered this 4/5 rule, which is pre-reaching, and he at the time, with the law of the Second Circuit, had to do that analysis, whether he wanted to or not. So, and then the New Haven case came down, which some people would argue changed the law, some people argued it may not
And I understand that, and that's why we're just looking for our back time to put us to where we should have been promoted, barring the legal ramifications that were in process while we were taking lieutenant's test.
Just for your information, Bishop Plummer got a personal call. He has an emergency he has to attend to, so he's leaving, but we still have a quorum to continue the meeting. Any questions?
Well, I think obviously, you know, this is a multifaceted issue, and we've asked Attorney Mottola to look into. You raise some major points that we need clarification on, and I think the Commission agrees. My inclination would be to entertain a motion to table this until our next meeting, which is next Tuesday. So we won't let this rest. I mean, we have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Regular?
I just noticed Attorney Busey is here. And did you want to hear from him now? Did you want an opportunity to talk
I
now?
just want to just address the Commission that the entire hiring process and promotion dates was part of court litigation. And it's not only a settlement agreement that people signed off on. It was approved by a federal court and made part of a judgment. So you just can't, I don't think, and I'll leave that to Mr. Mottola to address, but I don't think, you know, there's a jurisdiction within the Commission that could alter the court judgment, ineffective judgment. It's not just a settlement agreement,
Right.
It's a court judgment.
Right. I mean, we understand how weighted it is, and that's why I think, you know, we're not near comfortable making a decision until Attorney Mottola, you can get back to us with a review, a thorough review. Yeah. So, and time is of the essence, so we'll be prepared to air this by next Tuesday. Okay. So, Commissioners, I'd entertain the motion to table the decision pending legal advice from our city attorney. The motion is made by Commissioner Rogers and seconded by Commissioner McBride. And further, David, the Commission has requested that at our February 28th meeting, that we discuss the Commission's action and it be put to consideration on our next meeting, which is March 13th, for possible reconsideration.
Your action will be 28th.
That our action on the 28th be brought up on our meeting of March 13th for discussion on possible reconsideration.
Okay. That'll be an item on the agenda.
Is there a motion to put that item on the agenda? The motion is brought by Commissioner Rogers and seconded by Commissioner McBride.
I'd like to change the tape.
So just for a matter of clarity, we have tabled today's decision until our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is next Tuesday, March 13th. And at that point, we will also discuss reconsideration of our action taken February 28th. Okay?
Did the union want to be heard at any point? Bob, Whitbread, did the union?
It's been brought up about various testing. The union on many occasions, as you are aware of, and so is Attorney Mottola, has filed mandamuses because of the lack of action by the city. I've said this to you personally and other people that the board really needs to get the charter followed, because then we wouldn't be here. We actually have a mandamus that we're going to be talking about on the 12th of March, which actually has to do with this test.
Am I in that meeting?
Yeah, you have to
You
come.
can come if you'd like.
Oh, is that court?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I didn't see it on my agenda.
No, it's not. But it keeps getting brought up that things aren't done. We have repeatedly filed mandamuses to try to get everything on schedule. And because that hasn't been accomplished, and I'm not putting blame on anybody that's sitting there at this moment, but this is what it causes, and you can see this is not necessary. We don't need this in this department or among the members.
Okay.
Point noted, thank you. David, what's the next item?
Next item is Fire Chief Rooney is asked to be heard regarding our special meeting on the 28th.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Last week, you had a meeting here to discuss the eligibility dates for the captain's examination, and I was unable to attend. I was at the Emergency Operations Center all day. I was working there, so I couldn't attend. However, I did hear what the meeting was about, and there was a lot of concerns basically on the eligibility date and an eligibility list, who was eligible, who wasn't, and those concerns were heard by the Commission, and I think you voted on it and made a determination for a specific date. And I can fully understand why firefighters are very concerned about eligibility dates for examinations, because I, for one, actually had to wait 17 years before I could take a lieutenant's exam. So I know the frustration and concern, and that it's a very touchy subject. However, I was very concerned when I heard that there was a firefighter that stood up and said that I manipulated the list purposely in order to change it, and that I purposely delayed a promotion of one of the fire lieutenants who was terminated in order to manipulate the list. And I just want this commission to know that I had absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever, okay? That I in no way or any shape or form had any input on manipulating that list. And that statement that firefighter made was actually against our rules and regulations, because you're not supposed to adversely publicly criticize a superior officer in that manner. However, with that said, I would hope that this commission would give little value to that firefighter's comment and continue to support my integrity in the future.
Thank you for your comments, Chief. And obviously, obviously, any statement made in that fashion would have been considered hearsay and not taken as evidence by this commission.
What's the point of order? This is a special meeting. Special meetings can only have the points of the agenda discussed.
It was on the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
It is on the agenda.
But you added them. You've got nothing to do with what was requested by these people out in the audience. You can't do that in a special
No,
meeting.
I'm sorry, Mr.
It
McGraw,
was
but
that,
the
it
agenda
was
I
on the
got.
agenda that was published on Friday, Bob.
But it's still incorrect. A special meeting was asked for by a particular person or group. You can't let other people just come in and piggyback on top of that. I'm just making the comment, go from there. Hopefully that we follow the rules. I think that's what's been said all day.
Okay.
You know, we frequently have more than one item on an agenda for a special meeting. In fact, there are 3 items that we discussed at today's meeting. So, point of order, it does happen, and it happens today.
And just to follow up on that, I am, and I'll say this publicly for everybody who was here, because most of you were here last week, I feel somewhat remiss because I intended to speak up publicly and say something. The remark was made by Lieutenant Shevlin. There was also a remark made by Lieutenant Reyes about what civil service did in terms of breaking laws or rules or regulations. and what our complacency has been, and in specific, what happened, what role Chief Rooney may have played. And I want to state now that he had nothing to do with any of this, and what, for the Commission's benefit, and for your benefit as well, none of that is correct or true. That may be your opinions, it may be your concerns or thoughts, but it didn't happen. So, I apologize if I'm incorrect, but I don't think I am. And Chief, I should have said something publicly last week, I didn't, and I should have. So, thank you.
I mean, the temperature of last week's meeting, there was a lot of information. It was somewhat chaotic for us. You know, there was just a lot being thrown at us. So I hope you all understand that, you know, we're trying our best to bring clarity to it. We've asked the city attorney to give us his opinion, and we want to make sure we remedy this for everyone involved as soon as possible. I know, this is really compelling for all of you. It's a matter of your livelihoods. And we're going to address it and have it resolved at our next meeting, which is next week. Yes?
Can I make a quick comment?
Absolutely.
My name is Kenny Domshine, lieutenant for 14 years. Today or next week when you re-adjourn, I'd like to bring my case. I had a similar appeal similar to what the 16 are appealing. This is from 1998. I have all the documentation from that. Very similar situation in regard to appealing my seniority date. I appealed it to the civil service. It was denied as a result. I was not able to take the last captain's test. I missed it by 30 days. I'm one of the guys that was that been a lieutenant now 14 years, and this is my first captain's test that I'm able to take. So I just kind of wanted to share my side of the story in that there's probably been half a dozen guys over the last 15 years that have appealed their seniority dates for various reasons, and every single one of them were turned down by the civil service. And I just wanted to share that. So in next week's meeting, I can present you with that info more specifically.
I think you'll have to contact David and see if you can...
Sure, you will. If you have any documentation, make copies, send it up, I'll forward it to him.
Okay.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
And just for the record, we expect the full commission here on 13th. Okay. Right. I mean, still scheduled for City Hall at 2 o'clock at Wheeler A and B, Deb, is that right?
2 o'clock.
Assuming that the audience will still be the same size, we're going to probably try to move it to the common council chambers. Right. We do have other issues to handle that day anyhow.
Okay, let's try not to add too much else to the agenda.
No, you want to put that at the beginning or the end?
Beginning.
The beginning? Yeah. Okay. We'll put that at the beginning.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Commissioners, if there are no other questions or comments, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn at this time. Motion is made by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner McBride. Gentlemen, we'll see you all next week.
Okay. Thank you.